Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are live from the apocalypse, and this is Godkiller Solstice as part of our yearly Haz-Mas event. And so tonight, you will notice there are only two of us here. That is because Godkiller is a duet, and we are thrilled to get to have this game on this channel with such an amazing storyteller. Before we jump into intros and all of that fun stuff, if you have never been here before, I know a lot of you in the chat have, but if you have not, one thing that we do with Live from the Apocalypse is we're fundraising all year round. And in fact, Haz-Mas is our end of the year event to do a final fundraising push. We are currently raising money for medical aid for Palestinians. You know why this is important. It will remain important. We will continue to fundraise for them and support the Palestinian people for as long as we need to. And so we ask that rather than giving us bits or subscriptions or doing anything with cryptocurrency, please do not do that. Instead, just donate directly to the cause, which you can find a button for in the place where the subscribe button would usually be. If you are on mobile, you can type !donate, and that will bring you directly to this link, which will take you to the fundraiser. At that point, the McElroy brothers will yell specifically at me, and that will probably distract me at a big climactic pivotal moment, and then I will have to remember what I was doing. So if you can time it well, you can definitely throw me completely off my game. If you do choose to subscribe, because we cannot stop you, we ask that you only do that maybe if you have like an Amazon Prime sub that you want to throw our way or something like that. But if you do, just be warned, for every month that you have been subscribed, beloved Dimension 20 Dungeon Master Brennan Lee Mulligan will kill one dog. That was recently 36 dogs. Thank you, William. That was on you. And we don't want to add to that. So please do not. Instead, please just donate. There are also opportunities to use channel points for fun things. Some of those fun things are reactions. Some of them are good things and bad things. Good things, as the name suggests, means something unexpected and good will happen. Bad things means something unexpected and bad will happen. The storyteller might ask for a reroll if you just got a critical success, something like that. So you can also contribute in that way to how the story unfolds. But I think with that, I guess actually for intros, I will go first as the Godkiller. So, hi, I am JD. I am one of the organizers, storytellers, and players with Live from the Apocalypse. And tonight, I am playing the Godkiller. Skylar.
Hello, everybody. My name is Skylar St. Valentine. If you didn't know, now you know. I hope that makes your night a little better. Tonight, I will be sitting in the role of your storyteller. I will be playing everyone else.
And those are some unique characters from what I've gotten to hear so far. And with that, Skylar, I'm going to hand the reins over to you to begin tonight's tale.
Thank you. The winter solstice is the longest night of the year. For many, it is also the coldest, as the cradle has seen a winter unlike any before. Long short days give way to long nights, and war has erupted. The Court of Soot and the Court of Wonders taking skirmishes far beyond their natural conclusion to outright detriment for the cradle. That, however, is not the focus of tonight. Tonight, you, Robin, are on your way to the Winter Solstice Gala hosted by the glittering frost herself, Alba. The horse-drawn carriage you find yourself in is pulled pretty steadily, I would say, through the snow and ice that has fallen and been compacted on the path towards Alba's citadel, for lack of a better word. What does the interior? The interior is a lavish red velvet. Uh, the outside is a brilliant stained mahogany, and inside we see you. Please tell us what the Godkiller looks like.
We see a figure of ambiguous gender sitting there in a pair of hunter green breeches with riding boots, wearing what almost looks like a leather corset, but it is all in the colors of nature. It is browns and greens. Over that, they have on a very militaristic jacket with red at the lapels, green right around the wrists. And because they are seated in the carriage at the moment, they hold a pair of leather gloves in their left hand. And we see that their right hand doesn't have the same color of flesh and blood that the rest of their body appears to. It looks wooden, almost like it's moss stained wood. And they're tapping those leather gloves against that hand, staring out the window, looking lost in thought.
As you look lost in thought, I think I think your mind travels. I think that there are memories pulling at the edge of your mind. Specifically, one about how you got here in the first place, found yourself with an invitation to what will be the most lavish, most sorry, the most lavish, decorated night of merrymaking and wonderment of the year. I so we've and as you think, as these memories tug at the edges of your consciousness, we drift back. The camera pans out of the window of the carriage and into the falling flakes of snow, and we pull over to a a factory with gears and smoke coming out of billowing out of chimneys. We pan in to this factory and we see you at an earlier time in the day, maybe, or an earlier time in the week even. Um, we see you headed down a cobblestone floorway, uh, cobblestone hallway, into a large set of, similarly to your carriage, mahogany double doors. And as you push it open, you see a figure standing at a workbench. He's wearing crisp white trousers tucked into black boots that come up to his mid thigh. Similar style militaristic jacket to yours with red on the lapels and a gold sash across his chest. And you recognize Amos.
And Robin approaches respectfully, hands clasped behind their back.
Robin. He doesn't turn around to look at you. He knows that you're there. He acknowledges you. He does not turn around to look at you. Robin, I am glad to see you. How do you fare?
I'm fine, sir. Is this just a check in?
This is a surprise. You were going about your day when you were summoned to appear before him. This. Sorry, was that in character?
That was a little bit of both.
Okay. Um, this was a surprise to Robin. The check-in was not planned for today, but nevertheless, you were summoned, and so you went. And Amos looks you up and, or does not look you up and down. He says, "No, this is not simply a check-in, though I am curious to see how you are faring given the circumstances." And you remember that things have not been going well. The last skirmish left Amos's kingdom, his territories carved, part of it partially carved away by the Court of Soot.
Yeah, Justin, fucking grip it, baby. Slop
You
that down, dude. Shit, yeah, dude. Crack one for the big boy.
Amos turns to look at you and says, "No, this is not simply a checkup. Although I am curious to know how you're doing given the circumstances."
I am doing as well as any of us are.
I understand. Which is to say, he has a look of concern on his face. He does not want you to be doing as well as you could be. He wants you to be doing better. And in that, you are certain, knowing what you know about this divinity standing before you. Amos extends a hand expectantly, and it seems as though he wants to check on your arm, even though this is not a new injury to you. It is still something that Amos keeps a look at regularly.
And Robin extends their right hand, and given that they do that, we see the sleeve of the shirt, the jacket, pull up just a little bit more so that even before Amos has a chance to check on it, we see that the prosthetic that they wear stretches up further than just the hand.
And it's giving you no trouble.
No, it works perfectly, just as it was designed to.
And he smiles at you, a warm smile, one that you can't help but melt your heart just a little bit. It's familiar, it's comforting, and he says, "Right. Well, this is not why I called you here, but I am certainly glad to see that you are taking my gift well."
It is an honor to carry this gift, sir. I am grateful for it each and every day.
He simply says, "I know." But the matter at hand, I have been invited to the Court of Whimsy's annual Solstice Gala. As you know, I am dreadfully busy. Um, I am dreadfully busy commanding our troops, and I am sadly unable to attend, though it would be rude, I believe, to leave an invitation unanswered. And so I would like to send you to the Court of the Glittering Frost.
Me? You would want to send me, sir?
I have seen what you can do. I know your acts of diplomacy grow. I know that you are talented in so many ways, and this, I feel, is one that will test you in a very real way that is different than the tests you have been given before, different than the martial prowess than the martial tests you've have undergone on a battlefield or by my side before. You will find that a social battlefield is, I hope it provides you a night of entertainment as well as a challenge.
When Amos says, I know what you can do, what you're capable of, there is a moment where almost fear flickers on Robin's face, though they very quickly school that and simply say, it would be my honor to enter this next stage of my training, of my testing. This is certainly a large, significant step, sir, and I am truly grateful that you would be willing to entrust an invitation like this to one like me.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't if I didn't believe in your capabilities. I think I know that you are the correct choice to send. And oh, I feel like this isn't quite a move yet, but we're verging on a move here. So you tell me what Robin is handed a invitation that is on white parchment, sealed with silver wax and dusted with the finest silvery glitter. Um, what? How does Robin? How does Robin accept this invitation?
I feel like this might be a do as you're told type move.
Okay. When you do as you're told, say how you show submission in answer one. The GM will show you a glimpse of their true intentions as they answer the other. How are you rewarded, and what vulnerability do you reveal?
I think for the vulnerability that Robin reveals, they reveal a combination of vulnerability. They show hesitation, and whether that is hesitation to properly kind of submit and honor Amos's orders in this, or whether this is fear at the thought of entering this social space, a space that is not on the battlefield. It is hard to say, but there is a look in their eyes and a reluctance to take that envelope that indicates they are not initially going to take this, but then they do.
And your reward is simple. Your reward is, as your hand reaches out to take the envelope, you feel Amos's other hand rest upon your shoulder, and your reward for doing as you're told is praise. He says, "Good. I expect great things from you. You have done very well, and I know that you will do me proud."
You deserve nothing but the best, sir.
It isn't. This isn't about what I deserve. It's about what you. It's about what you can bring to our cause. And I believe that a night of merrymaking will be good for your morale, and you will bring that back and share it with the rest.
Of course. I look forward to that.
Excellent. And you turn to leave, and as you do, the camera pulls back again, and we find you back in that carriage. Except now your thoughts are interrupted by a small tap, tap, tap on the glass window separating the driver of the carriage from the warmth of the interior. And he pulls the window back and says, "Excuse me, we've arrived. We've arrived at the. You need to disembark now."
And and Robin does not argue with this. They simply pull the gloves onto their hands so that the entirety of their wooden arm is covered, and go to effortlessly hop out.
You hop out of the carriage. My brain blanked for a moment, excuse me. You hop out of the carriage and you see sitting in front of you a large building constructed of deep gray concrete, as well as beautiful wrought iron filigree, and it stretches far into the sky as Alba's citadel stands in front of you. And you are standing in front of two large dark oak doors, and you are greeted by a uh, kind of round, kind of short, kind of stout woman who says, "Hello, your invitation, please."
Robin hands it over and says, "Robin, here to represent the Court of Wonder."
"Ah, I see. You are Amos's emissary, then."
"Correct."
"Excellent, excellent." She snaps, and the double oak doors swing open, and you feel a rush of warm air that is scented with cinnamon and clove and spices and whatnot rush out and hit you in the face as you are announced. She says, representing the Court of Wonders, Robin. And you are let into the party. The guests turn to look at you as all things do when there is new movement in a scene. I think I think it's a large kind of it's a large ballroom with a large rug in the center where people are shifting back and forth in time to cheerful folksy music. A dance floor. There are several humans in uniforms, black vest, white shirt, red tie, carrying trays of food and drink around. There are several people here, but there are many people in fineries, get-ups, and you are presented with this very warm and palatial gala in front of you. How is Robin making space for themselves in this place?
I think there is a moment that not too many thankfully see, where when that warmth and those comforting scents and smells come through, Robin's shoulders relax the slightest bit, because this is comfort that they have not experienced in a long time. And then there's a flash of anger because, well, most have not experienced this in a very long time. But they very quickly compose themselves because their name has been announced. They know people will be looking, even if they are not necessarily at the station of Amos. So they maybe will be less interesting to others. They know enough to know you do not show weakness when you walk into a new space. And so as they walk in, they take on that military bearing. They walk with their shoulders up and back, with their eyes up front, scanning the crowd, keeping an eye out for anyone who might be looking at them a little bit too long, but otherwise doing what they can to as seamlessly blend in as possible, which may not be possible given that they are dressed in clothes designating them as parts of the Court of Wonder and of part of Amos's military.
I think your hypervigilance is rewarded when you see a very handsome square jaw man, dirty blonde hair, wearing a white and gold faux military jacket. You know how it's got, like, yours is real. You have like pins and badges displaying your rank and titles and accomplishments. His seems very tailored but very false. He's also wearing deep blue, like, navy pants tucked into brown boots. And you recognize this man as you recognize him as someone who is not common folk. he's very put together in a way that people who were given invitations in Alba's domain are not quite. A lot of the people who are at this ball are dressed in simpler dresses, simpler suits. There are some who are dressed in finery, and he is one of them. So you recognize him as potentially part of the Court of Whimsy. And he seems to be taking you in for a bit too long.
And I think seeing that, Robin wants to see if he will come to them. So they grab a drink from the tray and do not move far. It's not, I'm going to really make you have to work to come to me, but go find a place that's a little bit quieter and then make eye contact with that man and raise their drink to him.
At your acknowledgement, I think that as you kind of like take this drink and walk around, you kind of keep an eye on him out of the periphery, and you notice that he keeps making attempts at getting towards you, and then he's stopped by somebody, and then he makes another attempt to get across the room towards you, and he's stopped by a commoner, and eventually he makes his way over to you and says, good evening.
Good evening.
I don't believe I've seen you at any of Alba's events before. Your name was, if I remember correctly, Robin, representing the Court of Wonders.
Yes, that is me, and I must confess, though it is clearly obvious to one such as yourself, that this is my first time in one of these events.
You don't say. And he kind of puts his hands on his chin, or his chin on his hands, and leans in, like, he's standing up. He's fully standing up when he's doing this. So it's not like he's leaning on a table to get closer to you. He's just doing this number and he's just like, you don't say, it's your first time. Well, that's wonderful. I do hope that you enjoy the amenities presented by my mistress. And I hope that you have a wonderful time. I hope you have a wonderful time. Just overall, I wouldn't want you to miss out on any of the festivities. Where are my manners? I am so sorry. My name is Cornelius Pennywhistle. I am of the Court of Whimsy. And it is a pleasure to have you.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Pennywhistle. And like Robin makes a show of looking at his jacket and saying, I wasn't sure which rank was yours. I did not want to speak out of turn and make any assumptions.
Mr. is fine. I don't have a military rank, though I do find the stylings and trappings of militia quite enticing.
Indeed, what about it is enticing?
Oh, it's just the... And he looks at your jacket and realizes that he is actually talking to someone with rank. I'm not sure exactly what rank Robin would be, but definitely if you have Amos's attention, you are more than just a foot soldier. You know what I mean? And he looks at your jacket and he says, well, it's the rigidity of it all. We don't have quite that system of governance here. And so there's something about the order of it that I greatly appreciate when your day is filled with, how do you say, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of due chaos.
You would rather things be orderly and predictable and not the way they are here?
Of course not. There's something about the back and forth, the sharing of ideas, free information, and flow of creativity that such loose governance brings. And I appreciate that. Um, I appreciate that. Um, but it does make me wonder how others live.
Well, if you're curious about how others live, Mr. Pennywhistle, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
uh you see his face light up, partially. You see his face light up partially in like this kind of immediate satisfaction, um and also kind of embarrassment because he didn't mean to insult you and he feels like he's insulted you. I think I think if you want him to not kind of uh run with his tail between his legs at the embarrassment he suffered, um that this would be a connect with someone move.
Hmm.
When you try to connect with someone, tell them something intimate and answer one. The GM will reveal a figment of their pain and answer the other. The questions are: what common ground do we have? Do we share? And what still divides us?
And so I think picking up on that embarrassment, Robin does want to smooth it over. And with that, decides to open that door a bit to share something of themselves and acknowledges, I honestly would love to learn more about what it's like here. I mean, I'm looking around and this is so different from anything that I've experienced. And I mean, when I walked in, all of those smells, I can't remember the last time I smelled something so warm and comforting. And it just makes me think as I look around that each of us here have a story. My story is with the Court of Wonder, yours is with the Court of Whimsy. And I think we could stand to both learn about what each other's experiences are like. There's so much that divides us, and I would like to learn more.
So the common ground, is that what still divides us?
I think that's more what still divides us. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. So I think what the common ground that you share is you see Cornelius um kind of rakes a hand through his hair and he says, I have not I recognize my position of privilege to be here every day, to not have to wonder where my next meal is coming from, to be in the space of a god who is choosing to remain neutral in the endeavors of war. I think I got a little carried away, but I do believe that I think what you still have in common, which common ground you share, is that you're both dedicated to your gods. You can tell that Cornelius is in some way in servitude to Alba, much in the way that you are in servitude towards Amos. And I think that he for a moment lets you see that he recognizes that you've been through a lot and that he has not been. I would love to answer any questions you may have about the Court of Whimsy, to the best of my abilities.
Have you always been a part of it?
I was born into it, yes. My mother and my father before me likewise were born as members of the inner court of Whimsy.
That must have been a lot of pressure to grow up with parents that high up.
No, I mean, yes, it bears its unique challenges, but in reality, it's about as pleasurable as you can get when gods are devouring each other and leaving your home, the place that you call home, a waste.
And Robin's jaw does tense the slightest bit at that, but they simply say, yes, that is a hazard of being a part of the other courts or of not being a part of any court at all.
I don't think he notices that your jaw clenches. I think that he kind of he says yes. Yes, it is. It is a hazard of working with the other courts. I apologize if it comes across as gauche, but I don't sense that from you. I believe that though you represent the Court of Wonders, you represent the part of the Court of Wonders that tends to err on the side of caution when engaging in upscale military battles. I would like to believe that you are not part of the destruction of the cradle.
Why would I want to be a part of destroying the place that I call home?
Right, that's what I mean, is that I don't. And as he starts to sputter again, thankfully the doors to the palace open again, and on the other side of it, you feel the slightest ever so, because you are far enough away from the doors that it's not to affect you. The slightest rush of cold air coming in, and you hear announced, on behalf of the Court of Soot, Noel Flemings, as a large, broad-shouldered woman with hair slicked back into a tight ponytail at the base of their neck, She wears deep charcoal gray vestments, and they're tucked into heavy black boots. And at her side, though no one else in the room is carrying a weapon, you see a rapier attached to her hip. Ornamental more than practical, if the faint glittering of blackened gemstones is anything to go by. But you recognize Noelle. You have seen her before. She leads some of Ignatius's troops. You see her and you recognize her as, well, not totally, but impartial, in part, thank you, in part as of the reason that you lost your arm, though the physical act was of her making. You'd recognize that she was just following orders at the time.
And on pure instinct, Robin reaches back for where the broadsword that would usually be strapped to their back would be. But as you said, no one is carrying any weapons, at least until Noelle walked in. And therefore, there is no sword to reach for. And Robin just lowers their hands back, slides them, in fact, I think, into their pockets, and doesn't take their eyes off of Noelle as she walks in, even though that means taking their eyes off of Cornelius and taking their attention away from Cornelius for the moment.
Cornelius 100% picks up on this and looks over at her and then looks back at you and says, my God, my mistress has invited the Court of Soot. And this seems to be a revelation to Cornelius. He says, this is not, far be it from me to take matters of wisdom into my own hands, but this is astounding.
And Robin, without looking at him, just says, did the Court of Whimsy never invite the Court of Soot before? It would seem that if this is neutral ground, that everyone would be invited. Otherwise, that would be considered taking sides, would it not? To invite one court but not the other?
It's not that they've never been invited before, it's that they've never shown up.
Fascinating.
I mean, we make certain expectancies for the Court of Wonder, and before them the Court of Dreams, but the Court of Soot has never responded to the invitation, much less sent a party to be part of the gala. I apologize if this is too presumptuous. Would you like me to run the field for you and keep her on the other side of the room for a while?
I have a feeling that our paths will cross at some point tonight, regardless, but yes, that would be appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Pennywhistle.
Of course. With that, I will take my leave. Robin, it was lovely to meet you, and it will be lovely to see more of you in the future.
Likewise, and for the record, though I do not stand on titles, it is Captain Robin.
Ah, Captain Robin, of course. Of course. And Cornelius goes to the other side of the room, and you see him kind of immediately start to interface. He with Noel. Yeah, he runs over, not runs, but makes his way politely over and starts engaging with Noel.
Grip it, baby!
And
slop that down, dude! Shit, yeah, dude! Crack one for the big boy.
You are left to your own devices. How, Robin, something about this place feels just so wrong now that someone you know is here. But how are you coping with this event thus far?
Robin was doing reasonably fine when it was just having to navigate this conversation with Mr. Pennywhistle. That was the sort of challenge they were envisioning in navigating being in this particular court, the Court of Whimsy, and at an event like this. But with Noelle here, especially with Noelle being the person who was responsible for taking their arm, and the fact that Cornelia shared that the Court of Soot has never made an appearance at one of these events, they are very much on guard and on edge and likely moving around the room, keeping an eye out for things that could be used as weapons were that to be something they needed to do, because they are feeling very vulnerable without their usual weapons available to them.
That you are, Robin. I think you spy. You don't spy a lot of weapons here because the Court of Whimsy doesn't have a lot of need for them. Thus far, they have maintained a staunch neutrality in the conflicts besieging the cradle. And so while there are guards, right? Like there are guards, they are armed with short swords and breastplates and pauldrons, and you get the sense that like if something were to happen, there would be recourse for like some sort of action to it, but you're not seeing a lot of weapons. You're seeing a lot of how do I put this? You're not seeing a lot of options to ease your discomfort. And I think you felt a similar discomfort before, namely on a night much like this one in its longevity, but not much like this one in terms of weather. And we see the camera pull out of this ballroom through the window up into the sky and down onto a little cottage. A small cottage in the middle of a forest, surrounded by other small cottages in the middle of a forest. Robin, what brings you to the Court of Dreams this evening? On this evening in the past.
Robin is at the Court of Dreams to ask for assistance. Crops are dying. Things are not good. And they think the Court of Dreams may be willing to help. Because what are gods for if not to be prayed for and answer prayers?
Okay. Okay. You make your way. You stand in this small cottage, and JD, let me ask you above board. Can I go off here? Can I just go buck wild?
Absolutely, please do.
Excellent. So, you stand in the small cottage, the smell of bread burning in an open fireplace. You you stand above an old man with a long white beard and balding scalp, or no, not an old man, a god. You stand above him with a broadsword pressed to his throat, and you know that this is just his avatar. This is not his heart. But you also know that his heart is in his chest, beating the thump, the thump, thump. And he looks up at you and he says, I cannot offer you assistance. I cannot give you anything. This is not part of my plans. I cannot offer assistance to the cradle. It is dying. It is not my fault that it is dying, but it is dying. And it is not my place to offer it assistance in keep it on life support.
Why? Why is that not worth anything to you? The cradle is dying. You could save it.
We could all save it. There are things that every individual of the cradle could do, and you expect it all to be on me because I, have divinity coursing through me? Because I am the god of dreams, you think that means I make dreams reality. It does not. I cannot make dreams reality. What are you expecting from me?
I am expecting more of you than this, than nothing, than saying saving the cradle doesn't fit into your plans.
Saving the cradle doesn't fit into my plans because rebuilding the cradle is much more valuable. And when he says the word valuable, he kind of presses the side of his neck into your blade just a little bit, as if to say, go ahead, try.
You think I won't? You think I can't? You think these are words without actions?
I'm gonna I think we're gonna have you roll to recognize a god here. So roll me 2d6, and we're gonna add 1 for each of the following true statements. You are in or near their domain. You are squarely in Drosselmeyer's domain. You are familiar with their gospel. I don't know that you would necessarily be entirely familiar with it. You might have heard what is common urban legend. And it'd be bad if you didn't know. Considering you have a sword to this man's neck, I think it would be very bad if you did not know their gospel.
Yeah.
Did not know what they were about. So go ahead and add +2 for me.
All right, that is a 9.
On a 7 through 9, you get a clear interpretation of the omens. You ask your GM a single follow-up question of your choosing, and they must answer honestly. I think. Is there any question you have about Drosselmeyer or the situation you find yourself in?
I think in essence, the question is something to the effect of, what do I need to do for him to take me seriously?
I think when you say you think I won't try, he says, I don't think you have it in you. And I think that the way for him to take you seriously is for you to try.
And I don't even know that Robin thinks before then swinging the sword right at his throat to cut off his head.
As your sword lands upon his neck, you feel the warmth of his blood spray up into your face. But you notice that the way that his head is separated from his body is not as clean as you would expect the powerful swing to be. You see that smoke begins to billow from where his blood makes contact with the floor, almost as if steam rising off of hot ice. And you glimpse his heart. This is his true form, a cloud of dusky red smoke that flies and infects people with dreams. You are standing face to face with the true form of a god. How are you feeling at this moment?
Faced with something that powerful, there is fear, because how could there not be? This is a god, and this is the true form of a god. And I think within that, there is that continued burning of anger, because this is a god. This is the epitome of power. And he refuses to do anything. He does not take Robin's threat seriously. And I think they speak as though they have the upper hand, even though they're pretty sure they're about to be killed on the spot. And if they're going to be killed on the spot, they're not going to go out without having done everything they could. And so they kind of like level the sword at where Drosselmeyer's heart is and threaten, give me one good reason not to.
Like I said, I don't think you can. And as he says, as the smoke emanating around the room begins to swirl with this voice that says, I don't think you can, you feel I'm trying to decide whether this would be inflict violence or kill a god. But I think that he's not participating, he's not actively trying to like make this a fight. So I think we are going to roll to kill a god.
Let's do it. This is fine.
You don't add anything to this, it's just straight 2d6.
All right. That is a 7.
On a 7 through 9, they see something vital from you as well. Name what vital part of yourself you lose. So as your sword slams downward into Drosselmeyer's human chest, you feel this shock of electricity as it runs back up through your sword, and you feel the heart stop pulsating. What vital piece of Robin is left in that cottage?
And so I think the vital piece that is left of them is the exact one that we had discussed. It is their sense. It is their sense of power. This should be one of the most powerful moments of their life. They just killed a god. And in doing that, in acting out of anger, in acting out of rashness, they are left with the sense that they can never act on this power again.
Yeah, I think that it's a sense of powerless. It's a sense of powerlessness. I think that they are. I think that we cut back from this small cottage in this small village in this grove in the woods to the palatial comforts of Alba's citadel. And Robin, you feel in your chest that moment that when Drosselmeyer died and cursed not only you, but this cradle. With his dying breath, thou shalt not know the warmth of spring. You recognize that you feel, without your broadsword in hand and with this threat stalking the ballroom, you feel powerless.
And I think the piece that feels the worst for Robin is not only that powerlessness of currently being literally and figuratively unarmed, but the fact that there is a part of them that wonders, even if they had a sword, even if they had a line of defense against Noel, would they be willing to use it? If a threat comes here, will they be willing to act? Because recently, when they did, they lost an arm. And in that time before, they went to a god for help and killed that god. And in asking for the cradle to be protected, to be saved, things got even worse. And that is on them. for taking that action.
I love this. I love this so much. All right. I think despite his best effort, actually, would this be a good time to take a break?
It is right around that time, so before encountering Noel, we can certainly take a break.
Excellent.
All right, so we're going to hop off, disappear for about 10 minutes. We are going to get water, stretch, do all of those things, and we invite you to come back and join us at just about 9:30 as we jump back in. See you soon.
Okay. See you soon.
And we are back.
Hello.
And we're having a normal one at a party. This is just a nice party. Morale's going to be so high. I'm going to bring back so much morale.
Yep, you're going to bring back tales of your excellent night at Alba's party. All right. Close that out. There, okay. So, Cornelius, despite his best efforts, has not been able to keep Noelle at bay. She sees you and kind of rudely brushes Cornelius aside as she makes her way quickly across the ballroom, a wide smile on her face, her eyes fixed on you like I think a snow leopard is an apt metaphor here, like a snow leopard chasing its prey. And you think that she's going to stop short of you, and as she makes her first pass at you, she bumps your shoulder as she goes past you, and she looks over her shoulder and says, "Sorry," and keeps walking. And then a few seconds later, after she grabs some finger food off of a nearby tray as a waiter walks by, she turns and makes another pass at you. How does Robin respond to this obvious taunting?
Well, for starters, the next time that Noelle approaches, they are ready, and if Noelle goes to bump into them or otherwise interact in that way, they just shift a few inches to the side, just kind of move right out of the way, and say, I didn't want us to accidentally bump into each other again.
That's a shame, because I kind of wanted us to bump into each other again. Maybe not physically.
Oh?
I'm just so happy to see you.
I'm sure. Are you eager to come here and take the other arm? Are you looking for a matched set now?
I don't keep the arms, and if you're going to be upset about orders I was following, well, I can't really help that now, can I?
It's a shame that the person who leads you is such an asshole.
And it's such a shame that the one who leads you is such a coward.
Is that truly what you think of him?
Not just me. Everybody in the Court of Soot thinks of him as a coward.
Everyone in the Court of Soot is an asshole, so I don't really put any stock in what you all think.
It's a shame, isn't it?
What's a shame, Noel?
That I can't slice off that other pretty little arm right here, right now.
This is neutral ground, Noel. That would be a very, very, very poor choice, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the person you follow is more reckless. No, I guess I wouldn't put that past him, but it would really be a shame that the first time the Court of Soot is at one of these events, you draw first blood.
Yeah, which is why I was told to be on my best behavior, but they didn't mention that, well, you were not. You were not on my list tonight. You were on the list of things I had come to expect from this. And she kind of grits her teeth and chuckles and does that awkward, like, snide laugh when she does this. She goes, this lovely party.
Not having a good time, not enjoying the food, and Robin gestures at the finger food that Noelle has picked up.
She kind of shoves it in her mouth and gnashes it with her teeth. Like, she's obviously got no social graces, right? Like, she hasn't been raised in an environment that would prepare her for this. And she says through a mouthful of, like, I don't know, pigs in a blanket, even. She says, yeah, well, it ain't bad, but it's nothing like we got back home. And what we got back home is pretty sweet, so.
Is it? I didn't imagine conditions were that wonderful in the Court of Soot. And just for the record, just a question. You said you were told to be on your best behavior. Just checking in, is this your best behavior? Because I might have some notes to send to your leader if that's the case.
Yeah, like he'd read anything you had to say to him.
No, but he might read something that my leader had to say to him.
I Hmm. I want to disagree with you so badly, but you're right. He might have some reason to look at anything that Coward sent to him.
God, I wish I could just capture you saying that I was right. That that was music to my ears. Thank you, Noelle. I will have such a wonderful night now that I have experienced this, because how could I not? That was a first.
Consider it the only gift you'll ever get from me.
I'm also going to consider keeping my other arm, another gift.
I wouldn't. Because next time I see you, next time we're outside of these pretty polished walls, you're mine.
I will never be yours, Noelle, and unless the person you follow has given you orders to take my other arm, I would imagine that I would get to keep it because, well, you only follow orders, isn't that right?
I'm not some rabid dog.
Then we're in agreement.
She looks like she wants to, well, she looks at you with nothing but vitriol in her eyes. She hates you. And I think that she, on instinct, puts her hand on the hilt of her sword. And she says, "Watch yourself. Don't mistake me being a neutral party, being in neutral territory for me caring what your opinion is."
I wouldn't dream of doing that, Noel. And Robin does kind of inadvertently take a step back, seeing Noel's hand go to the hilt of the rapier.
Good. Then we are in agreement. And she kind of, with the intent of trying to stir up more shit, she takes a half step forward for your half step back, keeping the distance between you even. Like she is, we're using the same metaphor, like a large cat toying with their prey now.
And I think banking on the fact that we are in neutral territory, Robin not only holds their ground but leans forward. Like, the best way I can describe it is doing the pro wrestling thing of like getting forehead to forehead with someone right before the fight starts.
Mm-hmm.
And says, "We are in agreement, and I hope that agreement will stay for the rest of the night."
Fine. She says the word fine and takes a half step back. But just know that I'm watching you, Songbird.
Oh, a nickname now? That's so sweet.
It's not. Are you stupid? Or are you aggravating on purpose?
We don't like each other, Noel. Why wouldn't I try to aggravate you?
Because even though we're in neutral territory, that's still a really, really stupid idea.
Why?
And she looks She looks like she said something she wasn't supposed to. She said she looks like she's realized the verbal corner she's backed herself into, and she's not she says, fine, I'll stay in my corner, you stay in yours, we won't talk to each other, and we'll get through this party.
Once again, shockingly, we are in agreement, so have a night, Noelle.
Yeah, whatever. And she dips out towards the dance floor. She does not take her hand off the hilt of her rapier, even as she leaves. And as she leaves, you hear, as the night goes on for a little while. It's about midnight. The moon, a pale, dim circle through the clouds of the winter storm outside. When you hear a rousing trumpet, uh, presenting the one, the only, the glittering frost, the emperor of ice, the mistress of the evening, Alba, and like the whole party turns their attention towards these two spiraling staircases that lead up into another part of the palace. And you see standing in the top of the stairs this thin thin-faced woman with pale skin and lovely silver hair that drapes down over her shoulders. As she greets the party, this is the god of the court of whimsy making herself known to her people. And people from all across the party flock to the stairs just to get a glimpse of her. How how does Robin respond to this divinity making itself known to the public?
It's hard for Robin to see this in a lot of ways because, once again, continuously, the gods that they have encountered all disappoint them. They are not what Robin had hoped they were when they were younger. And Alba in particular stands out because, well, her court has been neutral ground. Her court has been taken care of. Her court is not experiencing the harshness of winter that has overtaken the rest of the cradle. And that is something that is still hard for Robin to stomach, even though they don't have a choice in the matter. And in fact, none of that shows on their face because they are here to be a representative of the Court of Wonder. And so they walk forward, keep a respectful distance, but ensure that if there is a chance for them to offer gratitude at the invitation, they will have the chance to do that on Amos's behalf.
I think Alba in her silvery blue white off-white dress makes her way down the stairs and in a very princessy motion kind of like waves gently to all of her followers and, oh, I'm so delighted that you're all here. I'm glad that my invitations found you well. I'm more than pleased to welcome you all to my home this evening. And you and eventually after, going through the rounds of people that she has to say hello to, she has to like placate the crowd just a bit to be able to socialize and mingle. She actually makes her way over to Noelle first. And you see them chat for a bit, and Noelle even laughs, like heartily, bodily, just like tossing her head back, like laughs, and then Noelle cuts her eyes to look at you, and then looks back at Alba and says something else, and basically excuses herself. And then Alba makes her way across the ball to you. The disappointment that you feel at her appearance, how does Robin school that in how does Robin school that into submission when speaking with Alba?
Robin is, despite the comments that they made to Noelle, also very used to following orders. And while Amos may not have given them their instructions for the evening exactly as an order, they know that they are here not on their own behalf, but on Amos's behalf and on the Court of Wonders' behalf. And so essentially, Robin schools that into a mask of submission by remembering that this is the mask that they have to wear. They are here to represent their court, and that is the most important thing. And that means bowing to Alba as Alba approaches and showing the proper deference to a god whose domain you've been invited into.
I see. Captain Robin of the Court of Wonders, it is a pleasure to welcome you to my abode. How have you found the festivities thus far?
It is an honor to have been invited and to get to experience these festivities. I dare say I've never experienced anything quite like this. It has been a wonderful experience. All of this dancing, this incredible food, merrymaking. Mr. Pennywhistle was incredibly gracious and helpful when I first arrived and truly made me feel comfortable and at home.
My dear Cornelius, yes, he is quite the charmer, isn't he?
He truly is. You are lucky to have such a devoted subject.
Although it was quite strange, Amos does tend to enjoy these parties, so if you wouldn't mind me asking, in fact, I'm going to ask anyway, why is he not here himself?
Well, given where tensions are with the Court of Soot and the things that are happening on the battlefields, he was not able to step away. He had to be the leader that the court and battalions need at this time. And
I see.
so he sent me in his stead.
I see. Well, I'm certainly glad to have you. Now, if you don't mind, I have been told that you are that you are hmm, I'm wondering I'm sorry, my brain just blanked out and I forgot what she was going to say to you.
No worries at all. It happens to all of us at times.
Yep. So she says it's fantastic that you haven't experienced anything like this. It means that my court and I have done something very correct in the way we have planned these affairs.
Yes, it appears, and I have no doubt, down to every last detail.
Yes, certainly. Um, even your carriage was custom made to fit in with the aesthetics of the Court of Wonders. Did you enjoy the ride here?
I did. It was very comfortable.
Hmm. That makes me ecstatic to hear. Um, I think I think that Amos has a lot on his plate. Would you not agree?
I would agree that leading an army is quite a responsibility.
Yes. Well, and what about you, dear child? What do you have on your plate?
Well, I have my own leadership role, though it is much less than the one that Amos carries.
You have such devotion to him. I can see it in your eyes. That is a beautiful thing for this time of need.
Well, that is what followers offer the ones they follow, is it not?
It is. It is. Devotion, passion, creation. Yes, those are the things that I require from my servants. I feel as though hmm, no. I mean, well, I do hope you enjoy yourself. And
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but it seemed as though there were some observations you perhaps cared to share.
hmm,
I would welcome to hear them.
what is your opinion of the woman from the Court of Soot?
Noelle is a skilled fighter. She is a good soldier. She follows orders, and is that not what a good soldier does?
Yes, yes, a good soldier follows order, but I'm not asking for your. Mm, I suppose I'm not asking for your critique of her military excellence. I'm asking your opinion on her.
Well, it is hard to offer an opinion on someone who you have primarily met only in the course of skirmishes and on the battlefield. It is one's military prowess that stands out in those types of scenarios. We certainly do not typically see eye to eye.
Hmm. And let me ask you another question. And she kind of, you get the feeling that she's trying to get at something. Like the talk she had with Noelle, is directly related to the question she is asking you now. Should she become violent, would you come to my aid?
Did she threaten you?
No, darling, of course not. One could not threaten a god any more than mortals could. Well, the notion is silly, but one could not threaten. A mortal could no more threaten me than a mortal could kill a god if it was. No, she did not threaten me.
I had simply wanted to ask because your question surprised me. You have plenty of guards available to protect you, and yet you ask if I would intervene. I
Yes.
am not certain that would be my role in this case, though I suppose protection of others is an important military pursuit, is it not?
Hmm. You're correct. Though if I am being honest with you, so I do not enjoy your answer, but I do accept it.
Then that is
Anyway,
all I can ask for.
anyway, make sure that you are filled to your heart's content. Dance, make merry, enjoy the eve. I will be around should you require anything from me. As Amos's most valued servant, I would be remiss to make sure that you did not experience the full breadth the evening had to offer.
Robin bristles at being referred to as Amos's most trusted servant, but does not question that or argue against that wording, and instead says, "You are as gracious and kind as I have always heard you are. Thank you."
You're very welcome, love. Darling, dear. Nope. Roll that back. You're very. You're very welcome, Captain. Um, and so the long night continues well into, I would say it's around 2 a.m. by the time that your eyes begin to get heavy. It's been a long night. You were here, I would say probably around 8 o'clock. Alba makes her appearance around midnight. It's around 2 a.m. when you finally start to feel the party's energy die down just a little bit. And things take a slower turn. People turn to tables for conversations instead of the dance floor. Food is brought out at less regular intervals. Drinks still flow plentiful. And it is around this time that you don't see Noelle anywhere. You kind of haven't been keeping close track of her. Like, she's promised to stay away from you. You've promised to stay away from her. So you've been kind of aware of each other's presence in the ballroom. But I think that, Robin, you notice for a moment that she is not there.
And that definitely sets off some warning bells in Robin's head. I think, they try to justify it in a variety of ways. She probably stepped out to the restroom. She probably maybe has gone to a secret rendezvous in a corner, whatever it might be. Like, Robin tries to go to those options first, though they are uneasy with Noelle's sudden disappearance, especially after that conversation with Alba and the question that Alba asked them.
I think that now would be also a good time to recognize a god. I think that something about the way that Alba spoke to you now would be a good time mechanically to recognize a god. So go ahead and roll 2d6 for me, and we'll add one for each true statement. You are in or near their domain. Yes. Are you familiar with Alba's gospel?
I don't know that I can say that I am. I think it's kind of similar to Drosselmeyer, where Robin has heard elements of it, but would not consider themselves to know enough to say yes to that question.
Okay. And do you think it'd be bad if you didn't know?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think we can add I can vibe with the +2 for this one, yeah.
That is a 5 and a 2, so that is a 9.
On a 9, I will give you clear interpretations of the omens. And you can ask a single follow-up question. So here's the thing. Alba knows something is up. She has some form of divination, some kind of prognostication on this. She wouldn't be asking you questions about, like, would you defend her if something went wrong, unless she intended for something to go wrong.
So the question I'm going to ask, I think, is a little bit different than maybe the usual one for this, because the question I'm going to ask isn't necessarily directly related to Alba as much as it is if Alba is put in danger, would Amos want me to protect her?
I think Amos would want you to protect her because Amos has spoken about how it's a good thing that there is a neutral party, and with the Court of Whimsy hosting this party for a bunch of people, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take an extra step to make sure that everything is okay. So yes, Alba would be someone Amos would want you to protect.
Okay. Then I think they are bracing themselves for trouble to start, and now instead of looking for Noelle, trying to get a read on where Alba is at this point, since she has been making her way around the party.
Yeah, she has interfaced with a bunch of mortals. She has figured. She has done her socialization, and now she has retired to a grander table near the back of the ballroom. It's been set up so that there's one large ornate chair sitting at a table, and she's currently sitting there letting people come to her with questions, comments, concerns, conversation, the 4 C's. Yeah.
Then I think Robin is going to make their way closer to that part of the room in a place where they would be able to act quickly if needed.
And it's excellent that you do, because as you make your way towards Alba, you hear a scream. The doors to the ballroom have been thrown open, and the cold winter air is rushing in as you see the stout woman who announced you. You see her eyes go wide, and the corners of her mouth leak this red viscous liquid that you can only assume is blood, and she falls over. Standing in the doorway are soldiers of the Court of Soot, led in part by Noelle. She is at the front of a dozen or so of these tall, slender humanoid figures with rat heads on human shoulders. That are all carrying some kind of sword or weapon. A few carry crossbows, and yeah, that's the scene you currently find yourself in. Is the party grinds to a halt as these rat soldiers announce themselves to the ballroom.
And Robin takes that all in. They are thinking about that realization that they had just made, that if something happened, Amos would want them to protect Alba. They're realizing that they are greatly outnumbered. They were thinking that if a threat came, it would be just Noelle. It would not be multiple combatants to deal with. And they are realizing that there are so many people that there is no way for them to try to protect everyone.
I think that realization strikes you much like a guard is stricken with a crossbow bolt. It is a desperate feeling. It is a powerless situation you found yourself in. how... What is Robin's priority in this moment?
I mean, it's a priority that subsequently latches onto others, but their first priority is to grab a weapon. So I would imagine their immediate thought is, let me get to that guard that just went down and grab that short sword.
Okay. Yeah, I think... Would you say that that they're acting on instinct here?
I would say that this would be act impulsively.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I would think so. Okay. So when you act impulsively, describe the emotion that drives you and answer one. The GM will tell you something you didn't notice until now as they answer the other. What advantage do you seize, and what trouble hits you hard and fast?
So the emotion that drives them is definitely sheer panic and fear, and they are going to seize the advantage of having a weapon since they currently have none.
I think the thing that hits you hard and fast is that you were not prepared for, well, this. But one of the things that you were certainly not prepared for was the like throng of people trying to leave very quickly and very very immediately. They push you and shove you, and it takes longer than you mean for it to get to a sword. And in that time, you are able to make out through the crowd of people that Noelle is advancing on Alba, kind of as a point of order. Like, this is what she was told to do. This is where she's going. She has her backup now. Her backup is firing into the crowd indiscriminately. Those rat soldiers with the crossbows, the ones with swords and pole arms are trying to corral people into pockets so that they are easier to slaughter. They are not taking prisoners. They are not interfacing with the idea of mercy. They are simply slaughtering those around them.
How is Alba reacting to all of this?
Alba is sitting at her place at that grand table, and as the people of her court are being brutalized around her, she does stand up, and she stands up and she holds out her hands and she says, stop this violence, stop this nonsense at once. Let it... And you see Noelle sneer back, "This ain't your party anymore, princess." As the rat soldiers do not heed Alba's warning. but Alba in her role as a god leaves her palms outstretched as these two bright, is her hands glow this like iridescent bright blue color, and you feel in the room on either side of the room this like cold winter's wind wrap itself around the ballroom, and you see that some of the rat soldiers as well as some of the court's people who are running start to freeze, as if they were had touched liquid nitrogen. Like you see their fingers begin to blacken. You see Alba trying to keep a handle on it, but ultimately, how does Robin feel about Alba unleashing her divinity not only on the rat soldiers but on her own people?
Robin really doesn't like that. This is exactly what makes them distrust gods, but I think the worst part for them is that they can think about times that they talked to Amos about battles that had been fought and the lives that had been lost, and heard things about acceptable casualties. And they're seeing this play out here as well. And it's hard because this is a greater example of it because it's coming from a divine being. But really, isn't this just anyone who wields power and their willingness to use that at the expense of the lives that might be cost? So they don't like this, but they're also not just going to stand back and do nothing.
Okay. So what is Robin, now that Robin has their sword in hand, where are they going? What is the situation here for Robin?
They are running and sprinting and leaping over anything between them and Noelle, and they are interposing themselves between Noelle and Alba.
Okay. So you interpose yourself between Noelle and Alba. Noelle grins this wide Cheshire grin, and withdraws her rapier from her side. No, she's already holding it. I don't know why she's withdrawn. She holds her rapier out toward and points it in your direction. Says, "Now's not the time, Songbird."
I don't think you get to dictate when the time is, Noelle. Call this off.
Make me.
And Robin squares their shoulders, tightens their grip on the hilt of the sword that they're holding, and swings at Noelle.
Let's inflict some violence.
Let's
Roll
inflict some
2d6.
violence, yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna add one for each true statement. They wish you harm. Noelle wishes you a lot of harm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's personal.
Yep. All three of those.
All three of those things are true in this moment.
That's 5.
uh, um,
I mean, it's actually, I realized it's a 6, but it's a 6.
It's a 6. It's definitely a 6. Okay, so I think here's what happens. You are not prepared to deal with Noelle and Alba freezing everything at once. And the corner you're backed into here is that Noelle fucking gets you, right? Like, you weren't expecting Alba to, like, stop this as soon as you said stop, but Noelle takes the rapier and jabs it into your shoulder, and pulls back, and it is slick with blood, as you feel that you suffer 2 strain, and the wound on your arm begins to leak down in the only semblance of warmth you currently have in this ballroom. And she says to you, "Now, Songbird, you can stand down, or I can take the other arm. My only business is with Alba tonight."
And there's a moment where Robin just almost instinctively like wants to, kind of bite back with the "do it, make me." And they think of that moment when they were on the other side of the sword with Drosselmeyer. And it stops them from making any snarky remark that they might want to Noelle. And instead, grasping their bleeding arm, they just shake their head and say, I can't do that, Noelle. I can't do that."
She says, "Why not?" And Alba seems to be lost in herself. It's not that she's watching you two, that she's distracted. It's that now that she has begun using this power, she's begun using this ability, she is tapped out of her own consciousness. She cannot see or hear you, and so Noelle says to you, "Why not?" And then advances again on you with the sword, the rapier, kind of like thrusting and jabbing and seizing at your weakness. And you do, for what it's worth, manage to parry some of her blows, even with your one arm being super fucked up at this moment. Your flesh arm, I should say. How do you respond to that taunt of "why not"?
I think that Robin speaks the truth and says, "Because Ignatius doesn't want me dead."
Noelle looks at you with hatred in her eyes, with fury in her blade, and steps forward and jabs at you again, tries to jab at that same spot where she already stabbed into your shoulder, and says, don't believe that. And we're going to... I think we're going to challenge someone dangerous on this.
Okay.
I think that's the appropriate here.
Yeah.
When you challenge someone dangerous in front of an audience, say which foolish or risky action you hope they'll take, and roll 2d6 and add 1 for each true statement. They care about your opinion.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they think they're stronger than you, definitely.
Yeah.
And the crowd is on your side. The crowd is, I would say so. I would say that they see that you're trying to defend Alba, and for the most part, they are on your side. So let's add a +2 on that one. No.
So that's boxcars. That's a double 6. That is a 12.
Hey!
which in this game, for those of you at home, in this game, that's not a good thing. That is not a super amazing success. That is overkill.
So on an overkill, you push too far. Your target reacts instantly and dangerously. You know, it's a good thing that she's only interested in taking your flesh arm. Because I think I am going to have you suffer 2 more strain. And as she calls out, "Liar! Ignatius spared you. Ignatius did not spare you that day. He simply did not let me finish the task."
And I think where like Robin pushes too far is when they respond to that by saying, "No, Ignatius did spare me that day because you're a good soldier and you only follow orders, and that's what he ordered you to do, to not kill me."
And she actually overhead swings the rapier down. Yeah, she swings the rapier overhead down onto your fucked up arm already, but this time she goes in at an angle. And I don't think she quite severs the arm, but she definitely cleaves through a good chunk of arm meat, which leaves your arm kind of numb and dangling at your side. And I think as she does this, you hear a deep, uh, thunderous laughter as a man, no, not a man, a god steps through the chaos surrounding you, and he says, and you look back to see this man in deep black metal breastplate and deep black boots and deep black pants with a deep black cloak with charcoal gray fur lining it. And you, Robin, recognize the face of the god Ignatius as he steps into the ballroom. And he says, "Noel, come now. The runt speaks the truth. Although, I do quite enjoy seeing you carved up like this, Songbird."
What is with your entire court and that nickname?
Who do you think taught it to Noel?
Somehow that's even worse. What do you want, Ignatius? This is neutral ground.
I'm hungry. And that's all he says is as he smiles and walks closer, he says, I'm hungry.
There's plenty of food. You can eat that. You don't need to kill everyone for that to happen.
I think we both know better. I think we both know that gods don't eat food like you humans do, like you mortals do. I crave. And he takes this deep breath in like he's smelling something in the air, but the scent of spices have long been extinguished. He says, no, I crave something different. I crave the violence, the chaos. I crave this. And I will have Alba's heart by the end of the night. Just wait. How does Robin respond to that?
I think it speaks to their powerlessness, which is just growing moment by moment, because not only are they in way over their head, they're now not just dealing with an incursion from the court of Soot, they are dealing with two gods who are coming into conflict with one another. And I think in that moment, with their wooden arm and their damaged arm, they are feeling nothing but powerless and helpless. Because what are they supposed to do?
I think Noelle doesn't notice that Alba is gone from her body. I think she is entirely focused on you. And I think that she says, I'm sorry, Alba, she doesn't realize that Alba has turned both of her palms towards Noelle. And Noelle gets the full concentrated icy blast of Alba's powers for a moment and freezes over. And Ignatius just, that same deep body laughter. And he says, Alba, dear, I didn't know that you had it in you to kill a mortal. Don't you subsist on their joy? And Alba doesn't say anything. And Robin, you're just left there. If you there's a moment where your powerlessness overtakes you. You can't move as Ignatius encroaches on Alba. And I think there's a moment when Amos rings in your head. There's a memory you have of training with Amos, of sincerity that Amos imparted upon you, where he said to you, to die fighting is to better than to die afraid. And in this moment, you remember that. And what bullshit it is. To die fighting and afraid? No. There's something in you that sparks with your apparent feelings of powerlessness. You tell me what it looks like when the divinity you stole from Drosselmeyer manifests a miracle.
So Robin has been crouched on the floor trying to staunch that bleeding, and as they've watched Ignatius advance on Alba, they've just kind of let their gaze go to the floor at the pooling blood that is beneath them. And I think what happens is it has that same reaction that Drosselmeyer's blood did. It starts to smoke, like it is that ice being hit with warmth, and that starts to actually cover Robin where they're crouched on the floor. And I think what this looks like as a miracle happens. I think that the miracle is that everyone else in the room, the soldiers of the court of Soot, the partygoers who have been fleeing or being attacked, and Alba is already still for the most part, but I think everyone in that moment freezes. Like it is like time stops.
Oh, delicious.
For everyone but Robin.
And what does Robin do with this stop time? Because this is it. This is what Manifest a Miracle was made for. What does Robin do now that they have all the time in the world?
So I think my first question is, will they have all the time in the world? Because if they do, if they think this will hold, what they care about is getting as many of those partygoers outside as they can. But what they care about more, and they know that this is the worst thing they could do, but they don't know what other option there is I think we're going back to killing a god because, well, Ignatius is frozen. Robin wants to take that shot because what can you do with someone who feeds on fear and chaos and discord? There is nothing you can offer them. There is nothing you can reason with them. The only thing they want is to hurt others. And what can you do except prevent them from doing that? And so even with their last act of killing a god, cursing the cradle, this is the action that they want to take. Because at least then, hopefully, his soldiers will step down if he is dead, and that will protect Alba. And that is what Robin is meant to do.
This act of defiance, this miracle you've manifested, reveals to you something. At the end of Ignatius's sword, there is a black diamond embedded into the hilt of his sword. And as you walk closer to it, limp closer to him with your tattered arm in tow, you feel the same, albeit mechanical, thump thump, thump thump, thump thump, coming from that diamond that you did feel coming from Drosselmeyer himself. You know what the heart of a god looks like now, and you can take a shot. You can take what might be your only shot. So go ahead and roll to kill a god.
That's an 11. That's fine.
On a 10 plus, on a strong hit, their death transforms, liberates, or shields an aspect of the cradle. Describe what and how. So Ignatius, in this moment of time around you, in the moments of time unfreezing around you, the chaos resumes. Your blade deftly pierces the jet black diamond of Ignatius's heart. In this, you feel something in the cradle. You feel something change in the cradle. Not warmth of spring, not the warmth of the sun, even. A change. What does that change look like? What part of the cradle is liberated now that Ignatius is dead?
I think that with Ignatius dead, it's almost as though a heavy weight has come off of at least certain parts of the cradle, because Ignatius was the representation and the deliverer of chaos and violence. And there are all of these spots that have been cracked and marred by that and have absorbed all of that energy. And as Robin's sword cuts through that heart, that starts to lift. But I think even just the feeling of it shifting and not knowing what that means, because now we don't have chaos to balance out order, unsettles Robin. Because last time they tried to reduce the damage of winter on the cradle, to address the changes that were happening and the harm that was happening, and all they did was make it worse. And I think they're not certain in this moment if they have made it better in any way, shape, or form, or if this is just another change that will have repercussions and ripple effects that they can't even begin to imagine.
As Ignatius's body falls over dead, time resumes around you. Noelle shrieks in terror at the sight of her god laying dead in the ballroom. You feel Alba's heart thump, 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 somewhere distant. You see her look at you, panicked. She didn't know it was possible for someone to kill a god. Now that she does, well, things have changed for Alba at this night anyway. You bleed out onto her nice carpet, and you feel something shift in the air. This idea that if Ignatius was the one who thrived on chaos and disorder, and Amos was the one who thrived on order, what will Amos do now? What will become of the cradle now that chaos is left? What the war, it has to be over, right? And it should be. You don't know. The cold night.
What a lovely day!
The cold night stretches on and on and on. After all, the solstice is the longest night of the year. Thank you. I think that is a good place to stop for the evening. Thank you so much, JD, for having me. This was an incredible experience. I feel so good about the story we told together.
No, this was incredible, Skylar. Thank you for this.
Yippee.
And thank you, Raiders, and thank you for the follow. And so I'm going to let us move into outros, if that works.
That works.
And then we will similarly find someone to raid and pay that favor forward. So I will actually have you go first, Skylar, since I will do all of the channel business at the end after I do my outro.
All right. I have been your storyteller, Skylar St. Valentine, this evening. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me anywhere on the internet at Sky St. Valentine. That's SKYST Valentine. It's right there. I am so thrilled that I got to have this opportunity to tell this story with JD and the rest of Live from the Apocalypse. Thank you so much for hosting me. And I look forward to telling more stories in the future.
No, and thank you again, Skylar. We were so excited when we saw this pitch come through. It was everything we could have wanted in a Nutcracker-inspired Godkiller story, so thank you for that. Hi, I am JD. I have been your Godkiller for the evening. I can be found at JD Not Jason Dean. I'm going to focus more on channel business than where I can be found. Follow socials for that. You will know where I will be at on any given night if you check out Blue Sky or places like that where I am. for this, as I mentioned at the start, we are in the middle of our Haz-Mas event. So that will be ongoing for 2 more nights and then some. Tomorrow we will have 2 Haz-Mas games. We will have one by Cass, How the Green Man from the Mountain Stole Haz-Mas in the morning at 11 o'clock. And then at 6:30, we will have Haznica Hunters, which is a Monster of the Week game run by our good friend Lion. And then we will round off this stretch of Haz-Mas on Sunday with Academy H, live recording our Masks Actual Play podcast. So the event will then be ongoing for a few more days in like the very tail end of the year after the holidays. But please come by, enjoy those stories, enjoy the VODs of all of the games that have come so far. We've really had some incredible experiences these past 2 weeks with the games that people have run. A few other final things. If you are not already following our socials, you can follow them here. You can also join our Discord community, which is a really great place full of great people. And it is where we put out our pitches for storytellers and players for events like this. So if you have ever wanted to get to tell a story or be a part of one of these types of stories, that is a great way to get involved. We love doing that. We love sharing that with the community, and we would welcome you in. And I think with that, we are going to say good night. We will find someone to raid, so please stay on for that. And we hope that we'll see you tomorrow as we run these next couple of games of Haz-Mas and have a couple more holiday-themed one-shots. And so with that, I think we will both bid you good night. Good night, everyone.
Good
Happy
night.
holidays.